start our today's class, and this class will be based on your revision class of chapter 8, and this video is the part 2. Okay, chapter 8 part 2. So sorry, so just see the video 1, which is the part 1, okay, and revise all those topics. And in this video we will discuss from the vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation, okay. Vegetative propagation. So what is vegetative propagation? So this is also a type of the asexual reproduction, okay. And in this reproduction, in this vegetative propagation, the seeds are not used for growing the plants, okay. Seeds not used, and the seeds are grown by the vegetative parts of the plant, by the vegetative parts of the plant. What are the vegetative parts of the plant? Like the stem, okay, leaves, roots, okay. So we will see all those, okay. And the vegetative propagation is of natural and the artificial also, natural and artificial. So what is the natural vegetative propagation? So in this, the natural vegetative propagation, you will see a land, okay, and after some time you will see that the grass is grown in this land, okay. Some grass, small grass is grown in this land. So where this grass come from? So this is from the natural vegetative propagation. See, this is a land, and after some time the rain will happen, okay, and the grass is grown in this plant. So this is called the natural vegetative propagation. And the artificial vegetative propagation, there will be the method of the cutting, okay, layering, and the grafting, okay. So what is the cutting process? Let's see, this is a rose plant, okay, rose plant, and you take a stem of this plant and just grown in the soil or the pot with a soil, okay. And after some time you will see that this plant, which is this stem which is grown in the soil, is converted into a plant with flowers, okay. So this is called the cutting method. And in the layering method, what will happen? Suppose this is a plant, okay, you will take a stem of this plant and just grown in the soil, okay. So this stem is also grown in this plant, and this stem, from this stem a new plant will grown in the soil, okay, in the same land and in the soil. So after some time, when this plant will be grow, so you take this stem and just cut out from here, and you see that two plants is grown from this particular stem, okay. So this is called a layering. And what is the grafting? Means you will take two stems of two different plants, two stems, like you will take a white rose stem, and you will take a red rose stem, okay, red rose stem. And what will you do? You will take just both to the stems and just cow dung or soils, okay, and just graft these two stems in a soil or in a pot, okay. So this is the first stem, this is the second stem, and this is joined together with the cow dung or the soil, okay. So after some time you will see that this will grown into a plant, full-fledged plant, and the flowers will also appear, okay. So this is called the artificial vegetative propagation, and it is of the types: the cutting type, the layering type, and the grafting type, okay. Now, what is the importance of the vegetative propagation? Why it is better than the seeds? Because in this vegetative propagation we will not use the seeds, okay. So seeds are not using for the growing of the plant. So because the seeds are not using, so it is grown earlier than the seed method, earlier than the seed method. Okay, and because these are growing from the parent plants, like you will take a rose, and from this rose stem the other rose is formed. Okay, other rose plant is formed. So this is a parent plant, and this is a produced plant. Okay, so from this parent plant this is produced. That's why the variation is less here. Variation is less and is similar to the parent plant. Okay, so these are the importance of the vegetative propagation. So just remember that. Maybe the examiner can trick you with these questions in your multiple choice. Okay, so just remember that. And now we will see what is tissue culture. Tissue culture. So what is a tissue culture? In a tissue culture you will take a plant. Okay, it is for the ornamental plants. Basically, what is the ornamental plant? These are the plants which we are using for the decorative purpose. Decorative purpose, like the money plants. Okay, so these are the plants. So in the tissue culture method, what will happen? You will take a cell or the tissue of the plant and just keep into a chemical, and after some time when the early plant grow, so you will place them in a soil, and after some time you will see that a plant is grown. Okay, so this method is faster and disease free method. So this is called the tissue culture method, where we use the cells and the tissues of the plant to grow a new plant. Okay, so this is called the tissue culture method. Now what is spore formation? Spore formation. So you have seen a bread, like if we take a bread and leave it for 2 or 3 days, so this is a bread and it is for leave it for 2 or 3 days. So after some time you will see that in a bed the thread like a structure is formed. Okay, so this is called the spores. Okay, see there is a plant is called the rhizobus. Rhizobus, just check the spelling. Okay, and it is look like this. So this is the hypha, and this is the stem, and this is the spongia. Okay, and in the spongia the bulb like structure is called the spongia. Okay, spongia. So I'm zooming here. Okay, so this is a spongia. Okay, and this is a layer. Okay, and under this there are spores. Okay, so when the favorable condition is maintained by the environment here outside, so this layer is burst, and when this layer bursts, so the spores come out. Okay, and when they found the moist environment, okay, so they produce many spores. Okay, so this is called the spore formation. Okay, now we will see the sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. Okay, just a second. Okay, so we will see sexual reproduction now. Okay, so sorry, I have facing some background noise, so please adjust, please cooperate. Okay, and just ignore the background noise. Okay, so we will discuss sexual reproduction. Okay, and what is the sexual reproduction? In this, the two parent involved. Okay, and what is the basic idea of the sexual reproduction? That there will be the male sex cell and the female sex cell. Okay, and they both fuse to form a zygote, which is the single celled, and This is a single celled, okay, single celled. And in this single cell, the cell division will be happened, okay, cell division starts, cell division, and this cell division continues to form a tissue, then organ, and then the whole body, organ, and then the body, okay, in the embryo of the female, okay. So this is the basic idea of the sexual reproduction, and sexual reproduction is also in the plants and the animals also, animals also, okay, and the human beings, cat, dogs, lions, okay, you know. So let's say, so why sexual reproduction is needed? If we have our sexual reproduction, then why we need the sexual reproduction, okay. So there are some limitations of the sexual reproduction, okay, like there is lack of diversity, lack of diversity, diversity, okay, overcrowding, overcrowding of the species, okay, no variations, means variation is very less, variation very less, okay. And if the environment change, so there is a possibility that the whole species would wiped out, okay. So because of the variation is less, okay. So if the environment change, so there will be the danger to their life, okay. And there might be the possibility that the whole species would wiped out after some time, okay. So these are the limitations of the sexual reproduction. Now if we, when we have the sexual reproduction, so what are the significance of these sexual reproduction? Significance. So there is a diversity, okay, diversity, and the overcrowding is not happening of the particular species, okay, and there is a variation, okay, variation. And when the environment changes, the species would be ready for to change according to the environment, because they have the variation, and some of the individuals in the species can have the uh, adaptability according to the environment, and they can survive their species further, okay, by reproduction. They can survive their species further by reproduction if the environment changes, okay, because they can adapt in the environment according to the environment, okay, because they have the variation. So these are the significance of the sexual reproduction. As you can see, they are, okay. So what are the limitations of the sexual reproduction? These are the significance of the sexual reproduction, okay. So this is clear for you. Now we will see the sexual reproduction in the plant. Sexual reproduction in the plant. So there is a term in the plant like the, in a plant, what is the reproductive part of the plant? So this is the flower, okay. In a flower we have the male sex and the male sex cell and the female sex cell both, okay. So there is a term that the bisexual and the one more, like the bisexual, just a second. So there is a term that is the bisexual and the unisexual, okay. So in the bisexual, the in the flower there is both the parts, the male parts, male sex cells, and the female sex cells also, sex cell also. So this is called the bisexual. And in the unisexual, in the flower, there either male sex cell or the female sex cell, okay. So this is called the unisexual. And what is the angiosperm and the gymnosperm? So angiosperm which have the flowers, okay, and gymnosperm which have the seeds, okay. Okay. So these are the terms, just remember, okay. Now we will see how the sexual reproduction happen in our flowers, okay. So there is a particular process, okay. So we will see, just a second. Okay, so now we will see the sexual reproduction in the plants. So in the plants, there is there the process of the sexual reproduction, and that is the four types of the process. That is the pollination. Firstly, the pollination happens. Okay, then the fertilization, and then the formation of the seeds, formation of seeds, and then the germination. Okay, so we will see this one by one. Firstly, we will discuss the structure of the plant. Okay, okay, here. So we have the structure of the plant. As you can see, this is a sepal, this is a petal. Okay, so it protects and it attracts. I have told you it protects the anther and the anther, sorry, the stamen and the pistil. Okay, the female reproductive part and the male reproductive part. Okay, so it protects from the outer environment, that they cannot be destroyed, that the stamen and the pistil. Okay, and it attracts the insects, attracts the insects. Okay, now we have the, this is the filament and this is the anther. Together it is called the stamen, which is the male reproductive part. Okay, reproductive part. Now this is the ovary, and here you can see the dot like structure, which is called the ovule. Okay, ovule, and in the ovule we have the female egg, or the female reproductive part, which is called the ovum. Okay, just a second, let me clear this. Okay, so we here I've told you, like in the ovary we have the dot like structure, which is called the ovule, and this ovule can be single or the multiple also in the ovary, single or multiple also. And this, in this ovule there is a female egg cell, which is called the egg or the ovum. Okay, now we have this is called the style, which is connected with the ovary here. Okay, and here at the top we have the stigma, and stigma is sticky. Okay, and together the stigma, the style, and the ovary together, it is called the pistil. Okay, so this is the female reproductive part. So what is the female reproductive part here? The pistil here. Okay, and the male reproductive part here, the stamen. Okay, now what is the pollination process? So in the pollination process, what is happening, that in the stamen, in the anther, we have the pollen grains. Pollen grains. So when this pollen grains is transferred from this anther to the stigma, this is called the pollination. This is called the pollination. And how it is transferred from the anther to the stigma? By the wind. Okay, and because the stigma is sticky, so wind just blow up and the stigma catches the pollen grains. Okay, and by the insects also. Insects, remember I have told you that the petal attracts the insects. Okay, so insects just sit on the anther, and they have some of the pollen grains. Okay, and when they also sit on the stigma, so the pollen grains stick into this, and the pollen grains transferred. Okay, now what are the types of the pollination? Types of the pollination, that is the self pollination and the cross pollination. Okay, what is the self pollination? Means if this is a flower, so it have male, it means it have the stamen and the pistil also. Okay, so the pollen grains is transferring in the same flower. Okay, same pistil. Okay, and in the cross pollination, that suppose this is a flower. Okay, in a plant, 4 or 5 flowers. So when the pollen grain is transferring from this flower to this pistil. Okay, from this anther to this pistil, so this is called the cross pollination. or it can be a different plant also. Okay, so this is the self and the cross pollination. Now we will see how the fertilization process happened in the plants, and then the formation of the seeds and the germination process. Okay, so let's see. Now we will see the fertilization process. Okay, in the plant, fertilization process. So you see that the pollen grains is sticking to the stigma. Okay, so pollen grains are here. Now this pollen grain burst and it goes into a tube-like structure and just come into the ovary here. Ovary, okay. And in the ovary, you know that there is a ovule in which the female egg cells are there. Okay. So in the ovary, they fuse to form a zygote, which is the fertilized egg here. Fuse to form a zygote, which is the fertilized egg. Okay. So this is called the fertilization process. Fertilization process. Okay. Now the formation of seeds. The next process is the formation of seeds. And so here you can see the zygote is formed. So this is a fertilized egg. Okay. Now the cell division is happened, and this fertilized egg is developed into a embryo. Okay. And after some time, the whole ovary is turned into a fruit, fruit, and this embryo is turned into a seed. Okay. And the outer layer of the seeds is become the is of the ovule. Okay, so remember I have told you that the ovule can be single and can be multiple also. Okay, so if in a fruit you have seen that there are more than one seed, so there will be the ovule is more. Okay, means the number of the ovule is representing by the seeds. Like if the number of the seeds is more than the one, then the ovule is also more. And if the number of the seeds is one, then the ovule is a single cell. Okay, single. Then the ovule is a single. Okay, so this is called the formation of the seeds process. Now we will see the germination of the seeds. Okay, so here you can see that the germination of the seed. Okay, so you can see that this is a seed. Okay, and this is the cotyledon. So in the cotyledon the food is stored, and this gives the energy to the seeds to grow. Okay, and in the upper part, the and the upper part here you can see the plumule. So this becomes in future like the stem. In the future it becomes stem or the shoot. Okay, stem or the shoot. And here you can see that this is called the radicle, and this becomes future root. Okay, so in future it becomes root, and in future this plumule becomes stem or the shoot, and the cotyledon just give the energy to the seed to grow. Okay, so this is called the germination. Germination. Okay, and in the next class we will see the sexual reproduction of the animals. Animals or the human beings, how the human beings reproduce. Okay, so we will see also the male reproductive part and the female reproductive part. So let's start. Sorry, just a second. Just a second, I have to add the image of the male reproductive part. Okay, so this is a male reproductive organ. Okay, and before proceeding further, we will see the what is the sexual maturity. So when what is the time when the reproduction can be happen in a human being. Okay, so after the sexual maturity, okay, after the sexual maturity means the condition where the reproductive organs develop and able to produce. Okay, developed and able to produce. So that is called the sexual maturity. Okay, and the signs of the sexual maturity, like in the boys, they have the height is increasing. Okay, and they have the vocal sounds. Okay, heavy vocal sounds. And in the girls, the breasts are increasing, and they have the menstruation cycles. Okay, so these are some signs of the sexual maturity, means their reproductive organs is developed and they are able to reproduce. Okay, so these are the sexual maturity. Okay, now we will see the male reproductive organ. So this is the male reproductive organ diagram. Okay, and in this the main part are the testes and the penis. Testis and the penis. So what does the testis do? So it is the main function of the testis to make the sperm. Okay, so sperm is made here. And in the penis, so penis act as a pathway of the sperm. Act as a pathway pathway for the sperm. Okay, so the sperms can be out and transferred into the vagina. Okay, so here you can see the image of this is the testis and this is the penis, and this is the urethra you have seen. So the penis, the tube which is in the penis is sharing the urinary bladder ureter also. Okay, so this tube or this pathway is both for the sperm and for the urination. Okay, this is the prostate gland, this is the bladder, this is the seminal vessel, and the ureter and the vas deferens. Okay, so sperms are made here. Okay, and these sperms are not matured enough, so it will be matured after some time. Okay, and when it is matured, so this they tra- they travel these tubes, and when they mature, they pass through the ureter, and the seminal vessel provide the sperms the fluid. Okay, the fluid and the nutrition to the sperm. Okay, so the nutrition and the fluid is provided by the seminal vessel. Now now the sperms is also passed from the prostate gland. So what does the prostate gland do? They make the sperms motile, means they gave the movement to the sperm. Okay, and they also maintain the pH levels of the sperm, because the sperms cannot live in the acidic environment. Okay, so the prostate gland provide them, and this from this I've told you that this tube is also for the pathway of the urination and the sperm also. So by this tube, the sperms is transferred to the vagina, and when the ejaculation is happened, so the sperm is transferred into the vagina. Okay, so that's how the sperm is transferred from the penis to the vagina. Okay, so this is the pathway of the sperm, where the sperm forms, and then from where the tube like structure, and from where it is transferred to the penis and then the vagina. Okay, so this is the male reproductive part. Now we will see the female reproductive part. Okay, so this is the female reproductive part. Here you can see the vagina, cervix, uterus, ovary, oviduct or fallopian tube. Now we will see one by one. Okay, so let's see the how the fertilization happen in the fallopian tube. Okay, so we know that is the this is the uterus, this is the cervix, and uterus is opening in the vagina by the cervix. Okay, okay, and this is the ovary, and this is the oviduct or the fallopian tube. In the ovary there is a female egg cell which is called the ovum. Okay, and in every month the female egg cell is come into the fallopian tube. Okay, this is also a ovary and the fallopian tube. Okay, So in the every month, these egg cell is come into the fallopian tube. Now what is happening when the sperm is entered into the vagina by the penis? Okay, in the intercourse, when the sperm is entered into the vagina by the penis, so sperm move this sperm is motile. Okay, so they have the movement, so they move into the fallopian tube here, and from the this is the sperm and this is the female egg cell. Okay, so they both fuse to form a zygote, which is the single celled zygote, which is the single celled. Okay, so here the in the fallopian tube the fertilization is happened. So this is the fertilized egg, this zygote is the fertilized egg. Okay, and where did the fertilization happen? In the fallopian tube. Okay, fertilized egg. And after the zygote form, the cell division is started. Cell division is started. Okay, and gradually the this single cell, this zygote, is come into the uterus. Okay, to plant to plant. And when the cell division is started, and later it formed into a embryo. So this embryo come into the uterus to plant, because they also want the nutrition to develop into a child. Okay, this embryo developed into a child, and when the organs comes, so it is called the fetus. Okay, just check the spelling. Okay, so this fetus is also need some nutrition, okay, to grow. And in this fetus they also have some waste. Okay, so the waste is coming out and the nutrition is taking in. It is by the placenta tissue and by the mother. Okay, so by the placenta tissue this embryo is planted, and the nutrition and waste is by the mother. Okay, by the mother. Okay, so this is called the fertilization process, and this is how the embryo is planted and the baby child is developed. And after taking the 9 months completely, the child is born through the vagina. Okay, so this is how the offspring made. Okay, now what happened when this egg which is coming out in every month is not fertilized? Not fertilized means intercourse is not happened and the sperm is not entered into the fallopian tube, and these do not fuse to form a zygote. So what happened when this egg is not fertilized? So see, the uterus does not know that the intercourse is happening or not. Okay, so they form every month a thick layer, and this layer is also spongy to plant the embryo and to develop the embryo into a child. Okay, so when the egg is not fertilized, okay, so what happened to this layer? So this layer will be coming out in the form of blood through the vagina, and this is called the menstruation cycle. Okay, so this menstruation is happening every month because the egg is not fertilized. Okay, so this is called the menstruation cycle. Okay, so I hope this is clear for you. Now we will see what is the reproductive health. Okay, and why it is important. Just a second. Okay, so what is reproductive health? See, in the intercourse there are some diseases that if the precaution is not taken, so there might be the possibility that the male or the female can have the diseases. Okay, so the disease name is the gonorrhea. Okay, so in the gonorrhea disease, the greater frequency or urgency of the urination happen. A pus-like discharge or drip from your penis. This discharge could be yellow, white, dizzy, or greenish. Okay, discoloration and swelling at the penis opening. Testicular swelling or pain. Syphilis is a bacterial infection usually spread by sexual contact. Okay, so syphilis disease also can be happened. Okay, the disease starts as a painless sore, typically on the genital rectum. Okay, and the genital warts. This is also a disease. Okay, can be happen to a male or the female. Okay, so the uh, skin, the oversized skin is developed around the genital areas. Okay, and HIV, you know what is HIV? So it's a sexually transmitted infection, but it can progress to a disease called acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Okay, when HIV infection is untreated. So these are the some disease, and to avoid the pregnancy, some people can take the contraceptive pills and the condoms also. Okay, so these are uh, some of the process to avoiding pregnancy. Okay, so just remember those, because in the last year I think the examiner asked about the contraceptive pills. Okay, and the reproductive health also. So just do not ignore this topic also. Just remember and just see the topic, and you will definitely write in the exam. Okay, so this is all the whole summary of the chapter 8 in the part 1 and the part 2. This is the last part. Okay, this is the part 2. So we will meet in our next class, and we will do some objective questions of this chapter. Okay, so let's end this class here. Thank you for joining the class. Thank you again.